What's up guys, it's Dwayne, back again for another video, back again for another reaction, and today is a great, lovely, incredible day. And you know why. Because it's another Sweden day. 5 things that Sweden does better than America. I bet there's more than 5 things, but she's gonna say there's 5. So without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
Hello guys, and welcome to a new video. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for clicking on this video. I have reached my first YouTube milestone this week. Yesterday, my other video, the differences in Swedish apartments versus American apartments, got 1,000 views, and I'm so excited. And I know that's not a lot in terms of like YouTube views, but I honestly didn't even want to upload that video because I felt so awkward when I watched it. And I was like, this video sucks, nobody's gonna watch this, and I look like a weirdo. So the fact that it's gotten 1,000 views and that is my most watched video so far just makes me so excited.
She gets a lot more views
if you've watched that video, thank you. If you've commented and liked it, thank you. If you haven't watched it yet, then go over and check it out now. I am explaining the differences in Swedish apartments here in Sweden versus what I'm used to in America. Also, just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please go ahead and do that.
Make sure you subscribe
this video
to Kim Sauce.
In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 things that I think Sweden does better than America. So I am American, I am currently living in Sweden, and I've realized that some things here are just better than in America. And these are the top 5 things that I have realized since living here. Number 1, there is no tipping here in Sweden and in most of Europe. Now, if you are American...
She's right about that. In the most of Europe, there isn't tipping. That's just... to me as a Brit, absolutely normal. We don't tip because you know why, America? Do you know why, America? Because we pay our waiters and waitresses a fair wage. No offense. We actually pay them a fair wage. So when we tip, it's for exceptional service. If it's not exceptional, if it's not the best service, then we tend not to tip. So I know in America they literally survive on tips because they get paid like $2 an hour.
Or you've been to America, then you know that waiters, bartenders, basically any service industry job, those workers survive on tips. Their base salary is way below minimum wage, so they need tips from customers in order to make a living. I worked as a waitress for many years in LA, and if I had just gotten paid from what my actual restaurant paid me, I would have been making like $100 a week, which is like 1,000 crowns a week. So obviously nobody can live on that. Here in Sweden, waiters, waitresses, they get a salary from their employer, a monthly salary. So when you go out to eat, they're not expecting you to leave a tip. So when your bill comes, you don't have to worry about leaving extra money for the waiter or waitress. If you don't leave a tip, it's perfectly normal. Nobody gets offended. If you don't leave a tip in America, they might actually say something like, oh, I'm sorry, did you realize that tip is not included? Or something like that. In America, most times if there's like a certain number of people, then they will include tip in the bill. So if there's like 8 or more people, then tip is included at some restaurants. But for the most part, you have to leave a tip. And that's for any service industry job in America.
It's so strange because it's not a set rule of how much you leave as well. They get different tips from different people. Your wage is going to be different every week, from week to week, depending on how busy the restaurant is, depends on how many times you get tipped, how much you get tipped. I would be so anxious. You might as well be working in a sales job on commission. Yeah, I just think it's really bad. I'm sorry, America. I don't mean to judge as a European, but it's just, who wants to work like that?
that include.
And if you're pretty, you're probably going to get more tips. What are you going to... Do you know what I mean? That your colleague that you're working with may not be as likable as you are, may not be as pretty as you are, and may get less tips. I don't know.
Includes when you get your nails done, you leave a tip. When you get your hair done, you leave a tip. I remember when I got my hair done here in Sweden, I texted my friend like, do I have to have money for a tip? She's like, no. I'm like, are you sure? Because it feels so weird just paying the amount. It feels so weird not leaving a tip. But personally, I think it's better because I don't think it should be up to the person going out to eat to pay the waiter or waitress's salary. I think it should be up to the employer to pay their employees. So in my opinion, it's better here in Sweden that you don't have to leave a tip. Number 2, and I love this. I love this because it's so much more clean, it's so much more fresh, and it makes sense if you think about it.
What is it, guys?
And that is no shoes on in the house.
That needs to be 5 things that Sweden does better than America. It's ridiculous. Like who comes into the house with the shoes on? I don't understand. You tread on dirt, mud, bugs. It's horrible. Like, don't walk into the house with your shoes on. It's really... It should be normal.
Like what? Most Americans, not all of course, but most Americans don't take their shoes off when they go into a house, their own house, or their friend's house, family's house.
Why?
You wear the shoes outside, you wear the shoes inside. I grew up like that. Of course, if it was like disgustingly snowy or muddy or something outside, we would take our boots off. But for the most part, like regular days, you wear your shoes in the house. Now in Sweden, that is like insane. Like, why would you wear your shoes that have just been outside and are so dirty in the house?
Exactly.
And it makes so much sense. It's crazy when you think about the fact that America.
This is like, it's the most simple concept, yet Americans don't get it. What?
Americans don't take their shoes off. Like, why wouldn't you? I grew up, as I said, like that, and I had one friend whose family was from Europe, and whenever I went to her house, we had to take our shoes off. And I thought that was like so strange. And then I lived in Los Angeles with my best, I lived in Los Angeles with my best friend who's from Sweden. And when we moved in together, she started making me and all of our guests take their shoes off when they entered our apartment.
Absolutely.
And that was like 10 years ago. And once I saw how much better it is to take your shoes off before you go into your apartment, how much cleaner it is, it makes so much sense. Now I do that. When I'm in America and I don't take my shoes.
If she thinks it's bad in Europe, she should come to Asia. So if she goes to Asia, they make you take your shoes off when you go into shops. When you're out and about, when you're going to shops, when you're going to cafes, when you're going to restaurants, take off your shoes at the door. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like that in Europe. At least you can like go into like restaurants and shops and, you know, other places and have your shoes on. But in Asia, no indoor place should you have your shoes on, really.
Shoes off, I feel so weird.
Unless you're in a shopping center.
It feels like truly, truly awkward. And just like I'm doing something wrong, especially when I go to other people's house and I don't take my shoes off. I'm like, oh, sorry. And here in Sweden, if you went to someone's house without taking your shoes off, I don't know what would happen, but I feel like it would be really weird.
If you like anything like in Britain, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't directly say, I think we're quite polite in that if you don't ask someone to take their shoes off straight away, sometimes it's a shock. You're like, oh my God, they've come into the house with their shoes on. We're less likely to be like, oh, can you go back and take your shoes off? If you're already in the house, you're already in the house. And we're just kind of like, that's a bit rude, but we'll allow it. I don't know what you guys are like, but that's what we're like.
Thing that I think is better here in Sweden than in America is that everyone has the same access to education, higher education. I mean, college, university, because it's free. I mean, it's not
So
free,
good.
but it's included in the taxes that you pay. So once you finish high school, you don't have to worry about how much the college costs that you want to go to. Can I afford
So
this
good.
college? Because as long as you have the grades, you can go to whatever school that you want. They do have like loans that they give you and you have to pay it back, but the interest rate is so much lower than in America. Number one thing I think that keeps people from getting a higher education is the price, because you graduate college and you're left with loans that you have to pay back. So you graduate college and most of your years are just spent paying that back. So it's a mountain of debt that you get into. Here in Sweden, as long as you have the grades, you can go to school, you can get a good job,
really good.
you can provide a better life. And I think that's obviously so much better. The fourth thing that I think Sweden does better is creating, I don't even know how to say it, but the fact that they have lanes for bikes. I don't know what's happening to my voice. The fact that they have lanes for bikes and lanes for you to walk
That's most European cities as well, bike lanes.
on the sidewalks just blows my mind. In America, where I live at least, there's barely any sidewalks and there's definitely no bike lanes. I think in bigger cities like New York, Chicago maybe, there's some bike lanes, but here in Sweden, you have a big sidewalk, so bikes and pedestrians can both be on the sidewalk at the same time, and you have designated lanes for the bikes and for the pedestrians. So it's not just people crisscrossing over each other. The bikes don't have to be in the same lane as the cars, which is the case in America for the most part. The cars and the bikes ride side by side with each other. I feel like it's more safe. I feel like it's more organized. I feel like it just makes sense. Everything in Sweden makes sense. I'm not gonna say
So it should.
everything, but most things make sense. They were done with thought in their mind. They were planned out and they were calculated and it just works. It's a very
Efficient.
aligned country. The fifth thing that I think is better here in Sweden than in America is the public transportation.
Well, you've got us beat on that because our public transportation is not very good. Unless you live in London, the rest of England, transportation is not very, very good. And it's very expensive.
Now, if you've watched other videos about Sweden, then you probably have heard how great the public transportation is. So you can take a bus or a train basically anywhere. Anywhere you gotta go, you can get there with public transportation. In the US, if you don't live in a big city like New York, then the public transportation is probably not that great. For example, where my boyfriend's family lives is about an hour and a half from where we live now, and we can just walk 5 minutes to the bus stop, take the bus there, walk 5 minutes to his mom's house. However, in the US, my dad lives about an hour from where I live. If I wanted to take the bus there, I looked up the bus schedule once, I would have to make 3 bus changes on the way, and it would take me 5 hours with all of the stops and with all of the changes that I would have to make. So that obviously says something
Okay, England's not that bad in terms of connections, but yeah.
about the public transportation
That's pretty bad.
system. Now, pinballing off of that, is that a saying, pinballing? Bouncing off of that is how easy it is to take the bus, because there's an app that you download to your phone that gives you the bus schedule. You can buy the bus ticket directly on your phone.
good.
When you get onto the bus, you just scan a QR code and that's the bus ticket. Now-
Oh wait, we have that as well in the UK. Yeah, we have that.
In America, I live in New Jersey, and getting into New York, you still have to pay cash on the bus. They don't have a system like that at all.
What?
You have to have a monthly pass, which you buy in advance, or you have to pay cash to go on the bus. So I just feel like it's so technologically behind that
very behind. We have contactless payments on our buses.
It's crazy. New York just got this tap system for the subway system, like just last year.
What? They just got the tap system. The London Underground have had a tap system for maybe 20 years now.
And Sweden has had this for buses for like years. You can also take a train anywhere you have to go. I take a train to Stockholm. I live about 5 hours away, and I have to make one transfer to go up to Stockholm. You can take a train to the south of Sweden, to the north, to the east, to the west. Like anywhere you have to go, there's a train or a bus. And I truly wish America would get their shit together and get a better public transportation system, because it's like you have to have a car in America. Cars are expensive.
That's their carbon footprint must be through the roof.
Insurance is expensive. Waiters and waitresses aren't getting paid. Like, let's get our shit together, guys. I don't understand what we're doing. So those were the 5 top things that I have noticed that Sweden does better than America. If you have...
So yeah, basically, Sweden does a lot more things better than America than they do Britain. Unless I can find a video where it's 5 things that Sweden does better than Britain. Let's see if we can find a video like that. Because I think there's quite a lot of similarities between Sweden and Britain. And yeah, I can't wait to go to Sweden because everything sounds very efficient. And I like efficiency. And I like things to just work. I don't want to have to think about it. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, I will see you later.